it's me again, and wow, okay, I just spent like 2 hours recording this thing, and only to find out that the file was corrupt, and I had to like do it all over again, and I'm very sad. At least I got to rehearse. So this is the MMTLP investigation, and this is a long video, very in-depth, lots of stuff to go over, lots of files and forms and tidbits to show you and how things work. This isn't financial advice at all. This is like going through a timeline and investigation. So how we're going to do this format is first I'm going to go through the timeline of events, key events. This is my dog, by the way. I'm going to go through key events, and then we are going to go through how things relate to one another. This is a long video. You might have to break it into parts, or I might have to break it into parts. We'll see how it goes. This might also stir some emotions with people. Just to let you know, fair warning, I'm not trying to elicit emotions in anybody. I'm going to present what I have found in a relatively objective manner. I'm human, I do experience emotions. So I cannot present to you these findings in a truly objective manner. That would be very cold and clinical. But I'm going to do my best and show you that some things were very premeditated. Dating back to March. Things certainly got premeditated back around February, March. And it's very interesting how this is played out. In the long run, to me, this translates to being frustrating. Frustrating, but okay. All right, risk reward, yeah. The reward is actually more to your advantage at this point than it was back then. But the journey along the way has been very frustrating. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, right? We're at Mount Doom and it's falling apart. You know, what are we going to do? All right, let's get into it. So we're going to do a timeline. Let's pull up the chart of Torchlight Meta. November 30th, just about a year ago, Metamaterials and Torchlight decide to announce that they are entering an agreement to merge. Torchlight wants to get off the market, and Meta wants to come into the NASDAQ. They want to be the first metamaterials company listed on the NASDAQ, first to market, so to speak. Metamaterials achieved this in Canada by doing a reverse takeover with a Canadian mining company back in 2019 to 2020. And now they're looking to get on the NASDAQ in America. Metamaterials at that time was trading under the ticker symbol MMTF, and Torchlight was trading under the NASDAQ symbol TRCH. January. This is when I enter into Metamaterials Torchlight. I did not find Torchlight first. I actually found Metamaterials first because I was looking for a metamaterials company to invest in the future, coming out of COVID and wanting to like get into these futuristic stocks and think about the future. I'm like, oh, let's get into metamaterials. That's the future. So this is when I take positions, and I actually wind up buying both Torchlight and Meta. I was playing both positions at the time. Looking back on it now, I wish I'd all bought Torchlight. I wish I'd all bought Torchlight looking back on it. I would have made a lot more money buying Torchlight. Hindsight's always 20/20, right? I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And I don't admit to being perfect. I make mistakes. That's part of life. You make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, I'm going to question you. If you never make mistakes, I question that. February 2021, as you can see here. Atlas Trading Group enters the ring for a short-term swing. They swing Torch. They enter in, take a position in Torch, pump it up, and then they exit their position. The price of Torch then pummels. This is when FUD takes in. However, this creates a very good and strong interest in the company. If it wasn't for Atlas, there would be less interest in the company. The Atlas trades and the news that came from the Atlas trades and the buzz that came from such a big trading group entering in on this company is what generated a lot of interest for more people at this time. And this is when you start to see people on stock twits like Texas Oil Guy come out. Anybody who's been on the torch boards long enough will remember him. March 18th, Metamaterials announces their arrangement to enter in a merger with Torchlight. The voting is complete and they submit their documents to the SEC. April 2016, this is when notes of delay really happen. So once the paperwork went through with Meta, it was then turned to Torchlight. The torch was passed to Torchlight, so to speak. And we waited, nothing. And we're like, is this merging or not? When are we going to get the Torchlight? The price at this point began to fall sharply on Torchlight. Torchlight then updates us in April with this post here, stating that they're having SEC delays because there is a financial discrepancy. We'll get back to this post in a bit. This is where things really start to fester here. But they say that there's a financial discrepancy, and by the time they resubmitted that, now there's the financials for Meta is, so to speak, outdated and irrelevant, and they have to restate everything, and they have to keep submitting. They're stuck in a negative feedback loop at this point, and they're waiting for the SEC. April 21st update, they give a Second Amendment proxy statement saying that everything's been pushed back as they're waiting for the SEC. And they had to amend this because their original dates have thusly changed. Let's go to this tweet from Torchlight Energy on May 3rd. And the management here at Torch said that they're very frustrated by the length of time that this has taken. As of issuance of this particular PR, we have not yet heard back from the SEC, and it's been over 10 days since they filed that document. It's now been over 10 days, and they haven't heard back from the SEC. They're hoping to hear back from the SEC soon. Luckily, a few days later, George Pelicaris tweets on May 7th, "Ray, we have news we've all been waiting for. SEC accepts all documents, and now Torchlight can send out their voting statements for the agreement." And that's what happened at that point, is they sent out the voting statements. And people voted, and then this is where the reverse splits came out. Vote for reverse splits, meaning stock. Management says yes. Okay, well, people want this merger to happen. Let's go. Mid-June, it's around this time also when the dividends announce that options come into play. The stock has met certain requirements at this point due to interest and maintaining a high enough price from the Atlas trading back in February that options are coming into play now, guys. Mid-June, press release of the special dividend being declared. The amount of Torchlight starts to skyrocket as we inch closer to that merging date. And that meeting with Torchlight. And now we have a special... People knew back in February, January, February about the special dividend. It was at this point that it really became into play because it was officially announced. There was a press release. Lots of people start piling into Torch because of the dividend and rumors of a squeeze play. It's at this time that Torchlight, as we can see on the ticker symbol, really starts to squeeze high. Between the dividend press release and the record date of the dividend is when Torchlight released extra shares. They issued extra shares from their treasury, which people bought because Torchlight was very high in price. After the record date, as you can see, between the record and ex-dividend date, the price of Torchlight starts to drastically fall. Each brokerage is different. Some brokerages require only 24 hours. Some brokerages require 48 hours. So it depends on your brokerage and how fast the brokerage could have gone. 2 days would be the safest, but by the ex-dividend date, the price is already low. It's on June 25th. as we can see here again by this tweet and showing the documents, that the meeting happened, Torchlight, and then the press release after hours that the agreement is settled and all tickers will be converted thusly. Friday, June 25th, it's also announced that there will be a reverse split of the shares. This is a common tactic, and I learned this from the CEO of ILIS. He says when you uplist to the NASDAQ, that's a very common tactic, is to do a reverse split. People who had options now have options with shares tied to them, but they're not trading yet. I personally wake up Monday morning, and indeed at 8 o'clock is when my ticker symbol changed over from Torchlight to the MetaMaterials preferred share one. JP Morgan's like really good about being quick. August 31st, George Palacaris incorporates a private company with Oilco. It seems that these companies have shares tied to them. Early September, speculation runs wild about what Oilco could be. Why is there preferred shares? Is this related to the oil asset sale? Is there going to be a spinoff? We don't know. October. The preferred shares, which were non-tradable only through options, though, which were tradable on an exchange, convert to what's now known as MMTLP, Metamaterial Torchlight Preferred Shares. It's also at this time that you can trade these shares on the OTC. Many people are scared, and now that it's because that they're traded on the OTC, there's a value assigned to these particular shares. Many people mistakenly sold their shares thinking that this was the dividend. They see cash in their account, they've been bludgeoned, they say, I'm taking it. MMTLP later that week then climbs to $3 before drastically falling back. Lots of people saw the $3, took it, ran, and sold MMTLP. Thus, the market keeps going for trading. Post-edit insert October 2021. People with prying questions and knowledge cannot contact Mark from MetaMaterials Investor Relations. We all receive a canned email from Mark. This is my canned email. I had asked him actually about the share count of the preferred shares and how many preferred shares there would be. And I did not receive an answer to my question. In fact, I received this email response right here about MMTLP. November, woman in bird costume does calculations and estimates the dividend to be $29 to $46. December, dividend increase hypes up as we're less than 1 month now. Thursday, December 2nd, market after hours. George Palacaris tweets to several people about a special dividend and tries to give an update. He then backtracks and saying that it could imply a spinoff. Friday morning, December 3rd. George Palacaris then tweets that saying the special dividend can still be a spin out or cash. The price of MMTLP begins to drop at this tweet. 1 hour before market close, December 3rd, MetaMaterials releases this update. And this update states that there will be no declared dividend payout by the end of the year, and it's being spun out, which could be spun out, according to this article, into the first quarter. John Berta then replies with, "We are not worried." It's been easy for him. Wait and see what the next few weeks bring. This gives a lot of people hope, and a lot of people rally around John Berta now as he begins to give more discussion and updates about it than the management company at MetaMaterials. December 9th, woman in bird costume does investigative piece. That's the timeline to today, guys. That's the timeline as I see it till today. Hey, guys, that concludes part one. Part one was the timeline. Part 2 will be the deep investigation. So part 1 is the timeline. It gets you caught up to current date from the past year of events. You can use this in the future if you want to understand this timeline or people don't understand what's going on. This might be a good reference. Part 2 is definitely going to be the more investigative and a little bit of speculative piece. This was really an objective timeline. Again, part 2 is the nitty-gritty, juicy investigation. Okay, guys, I will see you soon. Goodbye.